Well, I've been trying to get a video recorded all weekend, but the weather has not been behaving. It's been blowing a howling gale and we've had rain and all sorts of things. So I'm going to put together a bit of a hodgepodge of a video for tomorrow, and then I'm going to have to do my Friday video later on during the week sometime. G'day there, I'm Dana from Pewakaka Valley Homestead, and today's video I am going to be talking about the Shedwars. So I have been invited to join in on the Shedwars competition. It's not actually anything to do with sheds, it's actually a gardening competition for a bunch, oh look at my funny little poiky thing. A gardening competition for a bunch of homestead YouTube channels, and I'm very excited to be able to join it. The Shedwars 2020 happened last year, obviously, well, this last growing season, and it was set up by a few people in the States. Just a couple of teams got together and decided to try and grow as much food as they possibly could. And this season they have decided to extend it down to the Southern Hemisphere. So the Southern Hemisphere, we have joined Team Down Under, and there's two teams. They're both based, the captains are both based in Australia, so the teams are made up of a few different people from around the Southern Hemisphere. And so our growing season actually starts about now, and we get to go through until the 23rd of April. And then the Northern Hemisphere, your growing seasons will be starting in March and going through till October. And the end of October, we're going to have weighed up and tallied all the food that we've grown over our season, and we're going to compare them. And the whole thing's been sponsored by Hoss Tools, and so they are kindly donating a prize for the team that does the best. So this is really exciting for us to be invited to join in with this. And big thanks goes to John from Will It Grow, Mark from ARKANSAS Woodcutter, Robert from Homestead Aquarius. So the two Southern Hemisphere teams, there's the Team Southern Cross, run by Lynne and Wayne from Homestead Aus, and then there's us. We are in Team Down Under, which has been run by Darren from Down Under Farm and Forge. And so there's a few Kiwi homesteaders that are joining in that. So anyway, I'm going to stick some links down below. If you want to follow along with the Shedwars 2021, just we're going to all have tags of Shedwars21. So if you follow that hashtag, you can click on that and the whole list of all the different videos come up. We're going to be putting up videos at least once a fortnight-ish, specifically for the Shedwars, and they're all going to be on gardening tips, useful things to help you grow your own food and be more self-sufficient, as well as just keeping up to date with our harvest and how it's going in our garden. So I'm going to attempt to give you a little bit of a garden tour, but it is still quite windy out there, nothing like the howling 120k gusts that we were getting yesterday. Luckily our solar panels and our new pergola have all stayed up, which was a bit of a panic thing for us, but it seems to have all held together in the wind. So I'm going to show you what we are growing, and one of the other challenges that we have to do for the Shedwars is to grow a vegetable in a pot, which I don't usually do. So I have plans to cut one of our big blue barrels in half and fill it up with some runner beans. So I'll try and get that done this week as well. I know it's technically not a vegetable, but we do actually grow ginger in a pot. And I have a few other random pot plants around. But over here I also have some basil growing in pots. And I don't think they count as vegetables in a pot, so I am going to give the beans a go as well. Right, for those who have not met our place yet, this is our herb garden. Hopefully the wind's not too loud. This is our fig tree that unfortunately the dog has decided that the wood's really delicious, and she has nicked off with two of the big branches, so I need to fence this off from her before the fruit grows and she decides to eat that as well. And this is my vegetable garden, which we have all netted off so that in theory the blackbirds can't get in, but in reality the blackbirds still manage to get in here, and I'm not sure how. This is all blackbird damage from the blackbirds. This is where I grow a random assortment of bits and pieces. I've got some strawberries, a raspberry. These ones I think are plums that I've grown from stone. And this is where I'm attempting to grow some sweet potatoes, and I did have a nice little hoop house that I had all set up in here. I had this all set up as a nice little hoop house, and the wind yesterday has pretty much destroyed it. It turns out that all-weather tape does not include gale force winds, as it turns out, so I'm going to have to get some more of these clamp things and try and clamp them in the middle somehow, but that's alright. The actual plants themselves have survived for the most part, except for even though the wind was pretty windy, the plants themselves are looking alright. Now this is actually the first time I've been outside since the really big wind, so we're going to have a wee look and see how the plants have fared. In here I have broccoli that all look like they've been blown over. They're all struggling a little bit, and they've got quite a bit of aphids on them. I have been spraying them. I think they need another spray. So this has got broccoli, and it's got a row of peas down the side. Some leeks at the end that are starting to flower, they need pulled out. And then over here we've got lettuce, small peas along the back. These are some carrots that I'm deliberately letting go to seed because I want the seeds from them. And here I've got some celery and some celeriac. These all need staked up because the wind's just blowing them all over. We've got some garlic, and again, not vegetables in pots, but I have got quite a few trees and other bits and pieces growing in pots. I've got some asparagus, that almost counts, right? I've got carrots that are starting to see come up here. The wind is blowing all my tarps all over the place. I've got the very beginnings of some zucchinis hiding over the back, some self-sown potatoes, and a selection of lettuce. These zucchinis over the back as well. I think I've got 4 plants over the back there. And in here, one of the videos I want to video for you is staking peas, because as you can see, these peas are fallen all over the place. I've got onions in the rows between them, so hopefully on Tuesday I will get around to actually doing that. And at the far back I have got some potatoes growing over there and a few more onions right over the back. This bed I have got some tomatoes. We don't usually grow tomatoes outside here, but I'm trying a new variety called subarctic, which apparently are good for growing outside, and they seem to have fared quite well considering the wind. And I've even got some little flowers happening over there. And in this back corner here I have, considering these were all planted at the same time, these are red cabbage. This one's doing quite well, it's nice and big, whereas some of them are a bit smaller and spindly. They're obviously been eaten a bit by the slugs. It looks like they might have a little bit of aphid damage too, so I need to get on to spraying those as well. For aphid damage we just use a little bit of soapy water. Put some baking soda and like a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of dish detergent and some hot water. Give it a good mix up. And this, I don't know how well you can see that. This used to have a path in under here, and the wind has blown all my plants from up against the fence, blowing them all over here. So I need to tie all of these back. There's a whole lot of new potatoes, some Māori potatoes. I think I've got 2 different types of Māori potatoes in here, and some broad beans at the end there, and they're all just sort of taking over because of the wind. These are some of my cuttings that I took over the winter that have come away. Yep, these guys all got blown over. These are some New Zealand cranberries, also known as Chilean guava. And I have plans for those in my food forest. And we'll try and get into the tunnel house. It might be a wee bit noisy in there with the wind. And in here, it is a little noisy. In here I have my tomatoes. They all desperately need staked. I'm going to tie them to these strings. But again, that's going to be one of the videos I'm going to try and record, but I can't record it with all this noise happening in the background, so maybe Tuesday. So I have a bunch of tomatoes in here. Most of these are Roma tomatoes, which I will use for canning. And then at the other end I have a lot more sort of cherry tomatoes and ones for eating. And then I have a selection of peppers, which are doing surprisingly well. I've got some more here. They're doing really well this year, which I'm really happy about, because my peppers I tried to grow last year did not grow at all. So and I've got something eating. I don't know if you can see that there. Where are we? Ooh. Something's eating the middles out of my leaves, and it's not slug damage. So I'm wondering if it's a beetle or something. So I have sprinkled around a whole lot of diatomaceous earth, and that seems to have stopped them. I've got some blue shelling peas in here from over winter, which are just starting to finish up now. And I like to keep the seeds of the blue shelling peas because they have the prettiest flowers. Whoop, show you the roof. Their flowers are this really pretty purple. So I like even growing them in my flower garden, actually. And down here, all my cucumbers and things have been eaten by the same bug. So this diatomaceous earth, I'm not sure what was eating them, but it seems to have stopped them, and there seems to be some new growth on them. So that's quite encouraging. Hopefully that means we've stopped whatever it was that was destroying them. This one's got a whole new leaf since the other day, so that's very promising. I don't have very high hopes. These are some melons. I've tried almost every year to grow melons in here and they never work, but I'm going to keep trying. Yeah, so this is my tunnel house, and I'll take you out and show you my lawn gardens, which are just new this year. Now these gardens out here probably need a little weeding done. This is my main crop potatoes, and under here this one is mostly growing barley grass, but in amongst it should also hopefully be some ochre, also known as New Zealand yams. This one here has onions growing in it, although it also seems to have quite a few weeds down the end happening as well. I need to get in and weed them. This one here has got quite a mixture happening in here. We've got corn and wind apparently. Got some corn, and at the bottom here we've got some beans, and this is a squash of some description, probably a pumpkin. So I'm trying the Three Sisters thing this year. So this poor corn's a bit beaten up with that big wind, but the leaves have darkened up a lot. I was a bit worried that they're a bit low in nitrogen. I gave them a good feed and they seem to have come right. And then in this bed we've got more squash. I think this is a kumi, and then I've got some tomatoes that I got as freebies from a friend. So I have really high hopes for these new garden beds. They do have quite a lot of weed pressure because they're new. They've never been grown in before, but I've got high hopes for getting a decent amount of produce out of them. Well, that's about all I'm going to show you today. It's a bit windy for the sound and stuff, so if you want to have a bit more of a tour of our farm, I'll put a link to the playlist of our farm tours so you can have a bit more of a nosy around. So I hope you enjoyed the tour. Jump on and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Maybe hit the like button and follow along with the Shedwars 2021.